Many of the disagreements between Republicans and Governor Cuomo are over social issues. But today, State GOP Chairman Ed Cox also accused the governor of not doing enough to help the state's economy. Joining me in the studio now to explain more about his complaints is Chairman Cox himself. Welcome.
Good to be here again, Liz.
Okay, so basically you are accusing the governor of failing to fulfill his pledge to create jobs in New York.
That's right.
And why? I mean,
well, look,
what measure
he's proved
exactly?
that New York governance is manageable, but he's only managing the decline of New York. He's focusing on a lot of issues, but those issues are, as he calls them, social justice issues, but not issues with respect to the economy. We are still the highest tax state in the United States, the least business-friendly state. We have the most burdensome regulations of any state. We've got the highest debt per capita. He hasn't changed any of that.
Okay, not to take the governor's part in this, but what about the regional economic development councils? What about the 2% property tax cap? What about all of these incentives that he is in the nanotech industry here?
Well, nanotech industry was the Republicans that created that. That was Pataki and Bruno, basically, who drove that. And now he's trying to claim that for his father and himself, and forgets that there were Republicans 12 years in between who actually did do that one. That should spread throughout the state. That's a plus.
Okay.
But that was driven by one man, Ellen Cagliaros, who was terrific. And you need that kind of person to energize these developments. His regional economic councils, and I saw them when I heard him talk about it in his first State of the State speech. They're all politics and no real economic progress as a result of those. It makes a lot of people involved. They feel good about it. But in the end, what it's going to mean is he's going to be able to cut a lot of ribbons, take credit for a lot of things, hand out a lot of goodies. But in the end, it's not really for real economic development. You need to cut taxes. You need to cut the regulations, the things he's not been willing to do.
Okay, I'm curious about the timing of your criticism, because this comes at a time when you're seeing the Republicans in the legislature sort of starting to rattle the cage a little bit as well. I mean, for example, the Senate Republicans grilling very hard the governor's first Court of Appeals appointee, the Assembly Republicans calling him out on the messages of necessity, sort of stepping all over themselves in the process. They didn't go about it the right way in their verbiage, perhaps. But is this connected? Or are Republicans all of a sudden deciding working with Andrew Cuomo is no longer a good idea?
Look, with your first budget, you get a pass. It comes up on you right away, and he did, in fact, cut spending. He didn't raise taxes in that budget. And then second budget, he raised taxes before, but he did it in sort of an ambiguous way. Okay, we have a lot of things. We're still working together. We've got to prove New York is government. Now in this third budget, he raises taxes again. And furthermore,
well, he says he didn't actually.
Now he hasn't done anything, and he promised 2 years ago.
He says his budget does not raise taxes. So you are basically
by his own way he defines raising taxes. That is, if it's an extension of a tax that would have sunset, he says it's a new tax. He said that 2 years ago, and that he should be stand by that statement that he made. It is a tax. And I know businessmen who have left this city because he did raise taxes on that and said, that's it, I'm out of here. I know small businesses that have left because of that.
Okay, so I'm curious though, I mean, in the same breath, I'm saying the Senate Republicans are starting to give him a little pushback, and they are, but then today we had the Senate Republican leader, Dean Skelos, appearing with his co-leader, Jeff Klein, at a forum in New York City, at which he said that he thought that maybe minimum wage could be something, a minimum wage increase could be something that could be worked out. Now, the business community does not like that. I think they're resigned to it. But I just wonder, why would the Senate Republicans not draw the line on that? If in fact all of your Republicans are working together, or maybe you're not.
That's somewhere we're going to be talking about, but take the latest thing that's happened. 2 years ago, he said, we're going to reform Medicaid, right? Now it comes out there's an ongoing tens of billions of dollars of waste and fraud and abuse in the Medicaid system. Guess what? A year ago, he fired the IG, who was a real junkyard dog, Jim Sheehan. He is the IG and he's put in his place someone, and he gave him specific instructions, be more collaborative with the industry. Now, how do you say you're going to reform Medicaid? Big announcements about big Medicaid reform. We're going to bring the experts in, and then he fires the guy who really counts, the IG.
Well, it sounds like you're taking your cues from Darrell Issa to me, just on that particular issue.
And it's the Republican, and it's not anyone here in New York, but it's the Republicans in Congress.
Yes.
Through whistleblowers who went to Congress in Washington to the feds rather than doing it here in New York, because they knew it was useless to go to Cuomo about it,
Okay.
because he's on the other side despite his protestation.
Chairman, are you preparing a case against Andrew Cuomo? I mean, really, and the reason why I ask is this: the state of the state. Everyone said, oh, he took a hard turn to the left. He's preparing for 2014. He's preparing maybe for 2016. And then subsequently comes a report in the New York Post in which you say we don't have anybody right now. I mean, who are you going to give Andrew Cuomo a free pass
Actually,
in
this
2014?
isn't just Republicans. This is also Democrats, leading Democrats.
Well, for different reasons.
In the legislature are very unhappy with Andrew Cuomo. Why? He said no member items. That's great. Okay, we all agree no member items. Guess what? He's just given himself a $3 billion member item with respect to economic development, where he can dole out again the goodies the way he wants to and cut ribbons the way he wants to. And the Democrats in the assembly are very upset about that. I don't blame them. So this is really bipartisan. People are upset about the way the governor has been conducting
But
himself.
are you having talks yet with potential 2014 contenders? Will you run someone against Andrew Cuomo in 2014?
You bet we will.
You will.
You bet we will. Now, some of them at the moment are running for county executives, and they're focusing on that. But they
Are you speaking of Rob Astorino by any
or
chance?
Greg Edwards at the other end. The Greg Edwards has actually run a statewide race. He traveled on the bus with us. The cut spending, cut taxes, bring jobs back to New York bus. He was right on message with that, did a great job. There are other people. Colonel Chris Gibson, now congressman. He was a commander or colonel. This is an executive type. There's another. Chris Collins says he's not going to run, but he did a great job as the county exec in the Erie County. We have a number of potential candidates.
You don't think, though, I mean, we're talking about a governor in a Democrat-dominated state who's sitting on $22 and change million worth of campaign cash, who is fairly popular, even though he's lost ground with Republicans thanks to the gun control law that he pushed through the legislature. I mean, that seems to me to be a Sisyphusian effort, if you will.
It's very easy to be popular when the economy is going well, and the national economy, frankly, went very well in third quarter. One of the main reasons why Obama won, it went at 3.1%, going up from 1.2% in the second quarter. That's huge. That's huge. You know what it dropped down to in the fourth quarter? Zero growth. In fact, minus growth. One more quarter of minus growth, and we are in a double-dip recession. Warren Buffett, with respect to companies, said that when the tide goes out, you find who's not wearing a bathing suit.
You think that the New York Tide is
economic tide, if it's going out, we're going to find politicians who are going to be looking pretty ugly because they've been saying nice things and very nice things, but they've been acting against the economy. For example, our natural gas resources, terrific in this state, and Governor Cuomo has not had the guts to develop the political guts to develop those natural gas resources like is being done in Pennsylvania.
Okay, but interesting. If he
You're talking about lots of jobs in
right.
Pennsylvania, not here. You're talking about the headquarters and metal bending being done in Pittsburgh, not Buffalo. That's where
If
Andrew
there is
Cuomo's failed.
a sort of curtailed or sort of like a preliminary, if you will, testing wells that they do, like it was floated last summer, maybe in a couple of counties in the southern tier, but not all the counties where the Marcellus Shale is. Is that enough, do you think, to sort of silence your criticism
Look,
of
it
him
should
on
have been
fracking?
done in his first month. It was being done safely in Pennsylvania. There's no difference from the point of view of the potential problems with wells between a vertical well and a well that goes deep and goes horizontal. It's all about well integrity at the start. Everyone knows that. Andrew Cuomo says he's going to base it on real facts. He hasn't. He's just playing politics with it.
Okay.
He doesn't want to make a political decision. And as a result, we don't have the jobs Pennsylvania does.
Where are you guys on the gun control issue? I mean, I'm surprised. He's dropped significantly with Republicans all around the state. I heard a lot of criticism from the Conservative Party. I didn't hear a lot from you.
And also, we were critical. We made it clear. Look, the same kind of bill was passed in Canada, and there was universal non-compliance, and they had to rescind the law. They didn't spend any time debating this bill, talking about it, thinking about that kind of thing that may come up. As a result, there are lots of problems in this bill.
Well, does the
It never
party-
should have been passed, and if it were going to be, it should have been discussed. But he wanted to be the first to pass it before Obama got his
Does the
gun
party
control
plan to
legislation.
join any of these class action suits then? Because I know that Mike Long from the Conservative Party was here, and he's interested in doing that. I mean, will you join in?
Class actions are brought by certain plaintiffs. I'm not sure a political party can be a plaintiff. We'd have to work through the legalities of that. But the fact is, the unrest with this is not only Republicans, but it's also Democrats because of the way it was done, the way it was crammed through without any debate on a big issue, which is the way the governor seems to like to do things. And some of these issues really are pretty complicated. And for instance, guns that cops now use, pistols, are not legal because of their clips. That was never considered. So these are the things that should have been discussed, and they were not because of and people who may agree with him about gun control disagree with the way he did it.
Well, of course, there's going to be a lot of talk about that. I just am curious, we did hear from Assemblyman McLaughlin yesterday talking about the dictatorial approach of the governor, and he likened the governor to a fascist dictator. He said that Hitler would be proud.
That's overdue, but there's no doubt he's crammed a lot of things through the legislature without the kind of discussion, because he just wanted to be the first. He wanted to be the first to raise progressive taxes before Obama did it. He wanted to be the first to do gay marriage before Obama came out for gay marriage. He wanted to be the first with gun control before Obama came out with his gun control bill. That's not what politics is about. Politics, if you really care not about your own ambitions, but you care about the people in New York State, you want it to be all of these great issues to be thoroughly deliberated, and he hasn't permitted that. He's crammed them through the legislature.
Well, we expect to hear more from you then in the coming months, I'm sure. Chairman, I want to thank you very much for being
Yes,
here.
I look
appreciate
forward to it.